Hey, what's up? So is 2022, yeah, a bad class? That's a question. I think largely, especially if you live on Twitter and the degenerate world of thinking about Dynasty for next year, like before the Super Bowl's even played, this off season, not even next year, like next week, today. Yeah, that's the consensus. First round picks of the 2023 class have been trading about equal, depending on your league, to 2022 picks for a while now. In fact, we've known for quite a while, or at least it's been, at least in my little bubble. 2023 is a good class, has been a drumbeat for quite a while. So, yeah, 2022 is bad. But I get asked this question a variety of different ways, and I thought it was interesting. I was doing that running back video the other week, and just talking about running backs, and it just kind of, I asked the question to myself, and I thought about taking the terrible metaphor I was trying to use and trying to do a better video around it. And honestly, as that video showed, if you give me too much time, I end up, or the chance to re-record, I just end up re-recording, and then I get into editing and I just cut and cut and cut and cut, and I hate it, but I do that. And I just think sometimes, just unvarnished off the top of my head, I do a little better. At least that way it's more honest. Not honest, but it's exactly what I think. It's not clean, it's not takeified, it's just where I'm at. And I thought I did a pretty good job with it, so I thought I'd just cut it and put it in a video. And that's what this video is. I thought I'd do a little introduction, make sure I was wearing a different shirt, so you didn't think I just literally just lived in this room. And present it to you like a wet fish wrapped in newspaper, really. But yeah, let me know what you think. These are my unvarnished thoughts on whether 2022 is a bad class, or what I mean when I say bad class, because that's what this year's looking like. So check it out. Let me know what you think. Promise no jump scare subscribe me drops this episode. I might do that. I'm not gonna lie. I might. The only way I can do that is if it's funny to me, and that was funny to me. Sorry. But yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks. And Kyren Williams tier. And we're already well below most prospects I'd rank in the top 5 for most classes, by the way. This class has some significant defects. Not defects, but significantly... What's the metaphor I've been using? I think of it as a forest, and you're trying to see the trees. That old chestnut, right? Normally, what I consider a good class is where it's pretty easy to distinguish which tree is taller and therefore older, or better, I guess, than the other trees, right? With this class, there are some tall trees who are skinny, and there are some short trees that are fat, so which one's older, I'm not sure, and most of them are just about the same height. Now, that's apropos of nothing in terms of their stats, but that's the way profiling this class feels. I know there are great players in this class. Even in a bad year, we get like 9 prospects across all positions who have 2 fantasy relevant seasons before they're into their 3rd year. That's a lot of players to be out on the lookout for, and that's in a low year. So I don't think there is such a thing as a bad class, because there are always a lot of players are actually pretty fantasy relevant. Some are drafted in the 2nd round, some are undrafted, even in rookie drafts, and you have to account for that a little bit, but that's true every year as well. It's mostly that what I mean by a bad class is they're harder to identify. The tall trees, or which trees older or younger, however you prefer to run with that metaphor, that describes 2015, it describes 2019, and it describes 2022. I know there are good players here, but they're not separating themselves out as cleanly as they did in the 2021 class. Like, the thing about the 2021 class is everyone's got a victory lap. Like, we pretty much all killed it. If you just went by ADP, you killed the 2021 rookie draft, because it's not because all the players were good, it's because it was pretty easy to rank them, and so we have this great feeling we did a good job at ranking them. But honestly, there are very few landmines. Terrence Marshall, one I caught. Jalen Waddle, one I pretty much missed on. Running back Elijah Mitchell was the lower drafted prospect, but there are a lot of people in on him, especially after they saw his landing spot. So it feels like we did a great job, but I think it's more a function of those players were easier to identify. Or at least that's what I think of as a good and bad class, rather than the quality of the players. It's the ease with which they are to identify and how good it's going to feel because of how well we identify them. I think 2020-22, that year too, fits that pattern. I think there are good players here, but we're going to feel bad about it. It's harder to separate them out. They're not distinguishing themselves in the ways that make it easy to figure out how to rank them. All right, so tier 4 here. I have many players in this tier, honestly, that I think have better. Hey, so as you can probably hear, my desktop is trying to take off and go to the moon in the background. That's because I was watching along with you. You didn't know it, but I was right there with you. What do you think? Watching it again, I add a few things, but I'm not gonna make this video too long, I hope. One thing I would add is it's interesting re-listening. I was recently in a large conversation on Twitter, or other people were in a large conversation on Twitter on my post. Honestly, that's the way it felt, about Senior Bowl breakouts. And they named like 8 ever, but everyone's pretty convinced there's lots, was the general consensus. But what I noticed when I was writing them down and trying to make some notes about them, because I thought it might make an interesting article, to be honest, was there was a disproportionate number being mentioned from 2019. Now, that's probably just a random coincidence, but that's exactly 4 years ago, and what's making it look extra thick is Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow was mentioned once, maybe twice, in all the different mentions, all the different tags I got in that thread. But a couple people remembered that he finished in the top 12 this year, and he turns out he was a 2019 fifth round prospect. And later drafted prospects tend to have a lower, slower burn towards breakout. Not typically, some can break out year 1, year 2. I've talked about this ad nauseum before, but I think that's interesting. Bad classes. 2019 was one of the classes I used as an example in this this explanation of what I mean by bad class. That's too one-to-one. It's not like the Senior Bowl breakouts. Hey, keep an extra eye on them. It's just more. I do think it's pretty clear this class is harder to pick apart. And even if there will be less players, there's still going to be a fair number, as that guy just said, of players that eventually, even if they're lower drafted or undrafted, hit for at least 2 fantasy relevant seasons. We're going to want them. There's going to be some can't miss guys. I heard someone describe there's a lack of can't miss guys in this class. There are going to be can't miss guys in this class, for Dynasty at least. Eventually we'll figure out who it was. And maybe some of your deeper shots. I've described this class before as like kind of a take your shot kind of a class. Like if you have Chris Olave a couple spots ahead of everyone else, but your pick is 1.07 and you really don't have to take him to the end of the first round, just speculating on ADP right now. I feel a lot more comfortable doing that in this class than most classes, because normally you should draft a player you think has the best chance of scoring points, position regardless and anything else regardless as well. Which is why I've also said I think tight end and quarterback, whoever the best 2 are going to be significant, going to be legitimate considerations in the late first round in 2022 rookie drafts. That's just, I'm spitballing. We haven't even gotten to the draft yet, but I think it's those type of thoughts that we should take. We should start investing in the idea this is a bad class. It's not sell all the picks. I mean, if you can get good trades, obviously you make the trades, but I think we're way past, I want to move, trying to target a good class, because it's out there. Maybe not in your league, and if not, cool. Then disregard me. But I think if you're on Twitter, if you're in a very active league, I think everyone roughly has this sense. So one thought is, if I can get these rookie picks cheap, quote unquote, that means that I can offset the difficulty in finding players. It's having more draft picks because it's fancier lottery. Anyway, it's more possible this year. Or taking your shot, a couple picks, even if you can't get a trade early, or just doing it to make sure you get your guy, because the other players in your draft are probably feeling slightly similar. I'm just going to take the guy I want. I think those are the things we can take away, not bad class, good class. That's something that I think is becoming more and more established. So what can we do to take advantage or get an edge on that? And those are some of the thoughts I would add to this. instead of discussing whether it's good or bad, I genuinely think what I just said ultimately amounts to what is behind that description of bad class, bad class. It's not the no total number of hits or the lack of can't miss guys. It's we're struggling. You, everyone. I think it's fair to say these players are hard to pick apart. Who's really going to hit? Maybe it's more situation based. Maybe it's more Hunter Renfroe hitting 5 years for now. And I think those kind of let your mind wander on what happened in 2019, what happened in 2015, what could be a potential advantage of knowing that, accepting that, and not just panic selling picks. Or do that, I guess, if you want. Given that we know something about the 2022 rookie draft fairly concretely. Don't try to outsmart it, just try to roll with it, as it were. Well, at least that's where my head's at. Again, let me know what you think. I got a comment section down there. I got a Discord. I got a Patreon. I got a social media. Like everyone else in the world. And I'd be really interested to see what you think. Thanks very much for checking this video out. If you did, obviously. Hopefully I didn't scare you with a jump scare. Not actually sure I put one in yet. So that's it. Yeah. Anyway, thanks very much. Talk to you again. Yeah, I'm not even in the chair this time. Subscribe to the channel. I'm on strike. Subscribe or I don't come back. Please stop making me ask this.